And hello, team. Welcome to another episode of the Storytellers. Tonight we got a really, really cool guy. He's so cool. He's only got one name, just like Cher. A really great storyteller who recently wrote an essay about storytelling, which I want to talk to him about tonight. Let me bring in the one and only Narwhal.
Hey, Graham, I am
Hey.
like Cher in more ways than one.
Well, your hair's not quite as long, but maybe you're working on
No,
it.
yeah, it's really short right now. But yeah,
Oh, wow. I got you beat, though.
yeah,
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. You know, they say bald head equals high T. Have you heard that?
I have not,
Yeah,
but
I think
I'm
that's what I
going
heard.
with
Like,
that.
I would trade a bald head for some high T. That's what I need.
Actually, I do have hair. I just shave it off.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's not as I got a little I had the whole crowning thing going on back here, so I just said, "Ah, hell with it. It's not worth it."
Yeah,
You
cool.
got to
I
own it
think
sometimes.
I might have like fell on my head as a baby or something because my head's flat. I need the hair to like make it look round.
To puff you up.
Yeah.
So I want to get to your essay, but first I want you to give a little bit of background for the viewers of who you are, what your background is, and how you know what you know about storytelling.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I've been in CG kind of from the beginning, even like pre CG when it was just starting to get organized. I had an early Earthbound campaign that kind of failed, and then the next year CG was a thing, and then I kind of was sort of exploding for me, is what it felt like, and it was like life changing because I went in the course of a year, I went from working full time at the Fred Meyer Deli to being full time comic artist, and like just yeah, so before that just trying to doing a lot of screenwriting in my 20s and trying to like break into movies that way. I worked on one like movie with me and my friend. We like scrounged up 60 grand and made a movie, but it didn't go well. Like it didn't turn out good, and we learned a lot from failure on that one. But yeah.
They make it look so easy that if you buy an iPhone 13, you can be John Ford. That's the way they portray it.
Yeah. Yeah, I still haven't figured it out. I wanna dabble again in filmmaking, but maybe not
Mhm,
for a few years at least. And, like, writing for movies is different than comics, but in some ways it's all, like, kinda similar, they can definitely help one thing or the
mhm.
other.
Now, did you ever do storyboards for films or TV?
Yeah, for a while, I was checking the Craigslist, LA Craigslist every morning, and I would just respond to all the storyboard gigs, and that I actually was able to do that for, like, a couple years. I was sorta doing that instead of Fred Meyer, but it didn't pay very good, and it was, like, kinda stressful, and so I was drifting away from doing that, but it's just random gigs here and there. I was never like the cool stories that some of the other CGers have about working in movies or whatever. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, so so you really didn't start working on the comics until you started publishing your own stuff.
Yeah, like when I was 30, I got my first comic gig kind of in the I mean, it's like an indie book, but it was like a real gig in the industry. And it's a book called Machete Squad. And I was kind of lucky to be in the right place at the right time to meet this journalist at a comic convention. And he took my card. He had his own book deal with his own artist lined up, but his artist dropped out. So he was scrambling to get a new artist or else he'd lose his book deal. And so he asked me, and I said I could do it. And that was another one where I learned a whole bunch because he's like, "Can you draw and color and letter 120 pages in a year?" And I was like, "Yes," but I had never done that. And so I was like, kind of figuring it out as I went. And some of that trial by fire stuff, that ended up developing like my style because my style's kind of fast looking, and a lot
Hmm.
of that was from the stress of just trying to get everything done on time for this big project.
Yeah, I backed your foreign agent book,
Oh yeah.
And the reason I ask about the storyboards is because it reads like storyboards. It reads like a film. And I was really, really impressed with the organic nature of the drawings. You know, there's not a lot of surface detail, but there's a lot of great storytelling and gesture. Like, okay, we know that's a gun, but it's no gun we've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's those kind of things that you've got this kinetic style because it looks like you've done it fast. But by the same token, there's a great clarity to the imagery. There's no place in there where you get lost, either because there's too much detail or because you laid it out poorly.
yeah, yeah. I really like how animation looks, and I kind of just like my comics to kind of look like that. And
Hmm.
the thing I noticed with the art, I was thinking early to kind of justify even it being less detailed is uh for me to continue exploring it or whatever was like, oh, it's different if you look at one page of that style or if you look at a whole book that style. It's kind of like two different things because the whole book can kind of like pull you in, but one page, yeah, it's like not that big a deal. So in summer, I'm still trying to improve. Like I say, I'm trying to improve vertically, but not horizontally. Like I don't really want to change anything of what I'm doing for my style. I just want to get better at it.
Sure. From a draftsmanship point of view, do you mean, or
Yeah, like more clarity and like yeah, there's like little things like I do. So yeah, there's one. It's like an argument of the style. I guess is like people have pointed out that my hands can be terrible sometimes. And like I can draw a hand and sometimes I'll leave it gestural and it's like a blob because it feels better to me. But then I'm like, maybe there's a balance. Like I could get it to still have the energy, but also look like a hand. And so that's
right?
like some stuff that I can improve on maybe.
No, I get it. I get it. And guys like Alex Toth used to take shorthand shortcuts that way. Like he used to draw like what I call sausage fingers um, on characters. When he was moving along quickly for that same thing. But they never looked like blobs. They always looked like hands, but sausage hands. There's not a lot, again, surface detail to it, but just the gesture was there and it was always so well done.
Yeah, and it depending, I guess you can kind of control the eye a little bit. So it's sometimes I'll do this for background characters. It's like it's the equivalent of them being out of focus if it was a movie, and I'll literally draw them where like maybe their head will be disconnected from their body or something, and like that. There was one for like 499. I think I got some hate because there was a page and it was a 9 panel page, so it was a small little panel and then like a background character within that. And so it was like a 16th of the page, and they had blown it up big and be like, look how terrible Narwhal's art is. And
Oh,
I'm like, you guys are just taking the smallest little section of a background character. Like I
sure.
wanted him to look weird. No one's supposed to really look at him anyway.
That's not fair to do. I mean, you know, you blow up
Yeah,
anything big enough, you're going to see every mistake.
I know. But and that said, like I do like, yeah, it's like my art style definitely, there's a discussion about it. And I'm kind of into that. And I am listening to when people, if they have criticism, I'm trying to improve and stuff.
Well, CP the Nerd says 499 was beautiful. The art has life to it. Yeah,
Thanks, CP.
I think he nails it on the head. Is that the drawings have a lot of life, a lot of energy to it. And reading your essay, um, which I have here, it was really fascinating. The conclusions that you drew and some of your thoughts on storytelling. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about that you didn't include, um, at least not with the term that I use, and that is immersion.
Yeah.
And as you had said, if you look at one of your pages, um, you might say, yeah, okay, this is fine. But when you look at it as a whole book, what what your storytelling does, and I'm talking about you in particular, is that it immerses you into that story. And that's always the sign of a good storyteller, because if you know what's going on, if you're thinking about your taxes and about the price of gas and all that kind of shit when you're reading a comic, then that artist did not do what he's supposed to do. He didn't suck you into it. And your style is as I said, kinetic and clear, that you accept what you put on the paper as the reality, and it immerses the reader. And I can't say that a lot about a lot of younger storytellers, because they don't do that kind of stuff. They're more concerned with surface detail.
Yeah, I there's one thing I noticed with that is, like, if it's got that cool, unique and consistent style, you might, as you're reading it, you start to think in that style. So if some character is talking about, like, yeah, my friend last night got in a bar fight, you're picturing the art that's not even in the book, but it's in this style and stuff. So that's
Mhm.
kind of part of the fun, if it's art's firing on all cylinders. And that's definitely yeah, like, I guess that's like kind of visual, is why I didn't necessarily focus on that. But you're right that it's super important. And if you got good immersion, then you almost got everything.
Yeah.
You're sitting
See,
pretty.
the three tenets that I preach are clarity. And this is for comics: clarity, dynamics, immersion. All three of those things. If you do all three of those things properly, you're going to have a great book.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for reading it. And because I of the CG Kings, you're the only one I sent it to, because you came on my channel and I felt like we vibed pretty good. And I just kind of thought you're a cool guy. So I was like, maybe he wants to talk about it. And then you did read it. So I was glad. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, to
Oh
talk about
yeah.
the essay and stuff.
Oh,
And
it's
then, yeah,
perfect.
just hearing like other people's takes on storytelling like helps and stuff. So you say the three, what's dynamics? What would you say that is kind of?
It's pushing the drawings. You're dealing in a two-dimensional art form, and if you have too much photo reference, it's kind of like looking at how to draw comics the Marvel way. John Buscema shows you a punch, how it might look in real life, and then the Marvel punch. Wow,
Yeah.
all the way cranked back with all the twist in the body, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be that um, overt. It could even be, reaching for a phone, or to have some type of dynamic tension in the figures, so they're not just standing there. Everything is vertical and everything is horizontal in a panel. Jim Aparo was great at this. Like, he'd have people in the foreground and they'd be, standing like this, right? And then you have a vertical thing, in the background, so it adds angles and interest. um,
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
yeah,
and
so that's what I mean by dynamics. Also, is pushing the drawing, push those expressions, push the action, because it is two dimensional, and you want to make it come alive. It's not a movie. You got to make those drawings come alive. So that's the dynamics.
yeah, I've noticed, and I saw this in your art. People like willing to like just tilt their head, even.
Hmm.
Like a lot of artists don't do that. Like just like contrapposto, just having a little bit of extra, like, and that can be in a quiet scene where they're standing, but you have them, their heads kind of tilted
Right.
and whatever.
Yeah. Don't
Um,
have them standing there with their arms down. Maybe having him turned on a 3/4 and he's looking at his fingernails. Something like that. If he's disinterested, if the character's disinterested, have him doing something that relates what's happening in the story too, in his body posture and stuff like that. That's what
yeah,
makes these things come alive.
that's cool.
Yeah.
The other thing when you're saying that reminds me of like pulling people in and dynamics is having like correct perspective really helps. And that can kind of be like maybe like a beginning artist, and you're kind of ready to be pro when you can draw perspective to a point where it's not taking people out of the art. But when it's perfect, then the panel is like a window to another world if it's perfect perspective. And
Hmm.
that can help with the immersion and stuff too.
Jennifer Grover, thank you for the $10 super chat. That's a good cigar. Jennifer says, "Hi Graham, hi Narwhal, hi CG, hi chat angels, kisses and hugs." All right, thank you, Jennifer. Um, so, what was your inspiration, or who were your inspirations?
For specifically for the storytelling stuff, it
Yeah.
is some of it was like as I was writing it, I was realizing the one I realized like, wow, the one filmmaker who does everything I'm writing about is Quentin Tarantino. So I
Hmm.
kind of got a new appreciation for him. And I guess even specifically there's just like in the movie Inglorious Bastards, there's the opening scene of Inglorious Bastards is like that kind of does everything. And it's just kind of just classic suspense, but it does it so well that because I as I was writing too, from the time I'm 18 to now I'm 35 or whatever, you stumble upon things like accidentally at first. And I'm like, why do I like this one? Like all of a sudden, why do I like this scene? It feels better than my other scenes. And I was kind of zoning in, like, I think it's more interactivity going on, like more context of balls in the air that the audience is juggling, keeping track of the points of view of the characters of what's happening. There's one really good example I saw in a scene, and it was just in a movie, and it reminded me of like that these really good scenes. Sometimes there's just one in a whole movie, and it'll
Hmm.
make the movie still counts as a good movie just because of the one really good scene, but it does like overshadow the rest of the movie. And so in the example I'm thinking of, it's a Western. So you might have seen it. Shoot, what's it called though? It's called The Long Riders. And
Hmm.
it's yeah. And so there's a scene where like
It's got all the
the
brothers in it, the Carradine brothers, the Keach brothers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's Walter Hill, I think, and he's a great filmmaker.
Hmm.
But there's one scene in it where the Pinkertons are coming down the road. They were just interrogating the mom, and then the brothers are coming down the road, and the Pinkertons were just looking for these guys, but neither of them knows the other. They don't know they're Pinkertons, and they don't know they're the brothers. So they just come down the road, and they have to start talking and greeting and talking, and the whole everything they say is charged with this energy because you know that if they find out who the other person is, it's going to be a shootout immediately.
Hmm.
So it's like the most tense conversation where it almost doesn't matter what they're saying. They could say anything and it would be intense. So, and that's kind of where I was like, oh, that's like good storytelling. Or, well, that's like, it takes a lot of setup to get that scene. You might need 3 or 4 scenes just to get that scene.
Hmm.
And that's where I say context equals subtext, I guess, or context creates subtext. Because I kind of just call that subtext, I guess, when I mean it's suspense, but the subtext is like the audience thinking like, oh, they better not find out who each other are.
And that scene doesn't work if you don't know who those characters are and what their views are.
Yeah,
You know.
then it would be really boring. And I have a little
Yeah.
metaphor to explain that quickly too, of like, because I kind of call it interactivity. So if your scene has interactivity, then that's like the context creating this charge. If it doesn't have it, but you could imagine like two men watching a basketball game, and one man has never seen a basketball game before in his life, and he doesn't know the rules, doesn't know the player's history. The other one is a super fan, knows the rules, knows the player's history. They're watching an identical game, but they're having completely different experiences. So like the experience that would be better as a storyteller is you kind of want to give that experience of supplying the extra knowledge so they can really get everything out of it.
That's a great analogy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's very true. The sports analogy is very true. And that's what good storytellers do is that they give you the information you need and they don't give you anything you don't need unless they want you to have that to make you think something else. For
Yeah,
example,
like
how
a
about
red herring or
Hitchcock in
something.
Hitchcock in uh, uh, Psycho. That movie is
Y-
a heist movie until a certain point, and then it completely changes.
y-
And it just goes off the rails. I mean, I can't imagine seeing that in 1962 for the first time and what that must have been like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love that movie. And that's a good example, definitely what I was talking about. And I was reading, oh, I have let me get I have a book that I'm reading. So I put a bunch of books in this backpack because just brief segue to working out. Because when you came on my show, didn't you say to do progressive overload for
Hmm.
working out?
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I didn't exactly know what that meant, but because I've just been doing body weight stuff, and I got so I could do like 20 pull-ups, you know, like kind of a lot. But I'm not really getting bigger. And I can do kind of a bunch of push-ups. And then I was kind of flatlining, and I was like, I think this is what he means by progressive overload. So I put a bunch of books in a backpack yesterday. And so now I've been doing push-ups and pull-ups with a backpack on, and my numbers went way down, but I feel like now I might get a little bit bigger now or whatever.
Now, if you want to get bigger, you got to eat bigger too.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And I've
Yeah.
been kind of dabbling in trying to do that too. But so sorry. So now back to so Hitchcock Truffaut. This
Oh,
book is sweet, and they talk a lot about like storytelling stuff, suspense stuff, and like each movie individually in Hitchcock, or like Psycho, and the things about Psycho that are kind of special. Like there's one thing I really like about it is once she dies, you're kind of confused as an audience of like, what's even next? Like, where do we go from here? She's dead. Like the movie's supposedly there's an hour left. Like, what's even going to happen? And then it cuts to like her brother investigating her death, and you're like, oh, it makes perfect sense. So it kind of knows before you do where it's going to go.
yeah. Yeah. It's the boyfriend and the sister
Yeah, her boyfriend.
investigating the death. Yeah. Yeah. I just watched that movie on Halloween.
Nice. That's a perfect Halloween movie.
Oh, Jennifer, very generous again. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Graham, when you are CG Kings, I really enjoy it when all you guys drink a lot of alcohol, not Boston, you or anyone else. Yeah, every time we hit those special numbers, I was just saying to Julie that, I got to turn the camera off. I got to go upstairs because my studio's in the basement, and I got to go grab a glass, grab a bourbon. I got to keep a bottle and a glass down here for those Comicsgate Kings nights when somebody hits, big numbers and we do a toast. So I don't have to keep running up the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Your campaign, it's hitting some big numbers. Is it at 120 yet or over? Or?
It's 121 and change. Let's see.
Sweet, that's
It's
awesome.
121,
Congratulations.
626.
Yeah.
Anybody in the chat here, if you haven't backed it, I put the link in the chat. And the campaign is ending next Thursday. So it's your last chance to get on board and get all the free stretch goal goodies. Because once it closes, those won't be available. You'll be able to buy the comic on my Compass Comics website, but it won't come with any of that stuff, and it's going to be more expensive. So if you're on the fence, get off the fence, because crabs are on the fence. You can see that in the background, and back the book. So back to the share of comics, Narwhal. So were there any comic artists that you were inspired by?
Yeah, I saw a few where I was like, wow, that's kind of what I want to be doing. And it was a lot of times I'd look like, what's their, like, what country are they from? And they're from like France and Italy. Like, so European art, I kind of really like. And specifically, there's a comic artist named Bengal that I really like. And then, yeah, there's an Italian one I like. I can't think of his name right now. He has like a code name too. And but their style's kind of like mine, but it's like they're better than me. Like that's like, it's just, if I could draw that good, that'd be awesome. So that's like that vertical improvement where it's still kind of, not too much cross hatching or thick and thin. Like the coloring is handling a lot of the rendering kind of stuff. And then I was into like animation in general. I just liked how cells looked over paintings. I kind of like the collage look when there's two different styles almost. Like the background is more rendered than the characters are. I like that, and I like some anime, but it's like if you could have anime but without the big eyes, that's like would be like and that's what like French art is. When I saw that, I was like, oh, it's like anime but without big eyes. It's kind of like half between American and Japanese is France.
Yeah, the French and the Italians, they tend to focus on backgrounds, where American artists tend to focus more on the figures, and the backgrounds are more ancillary, it seems like. And I love a lot of those European guys and the South American guys too. Those guys are killer, just great draftsmen. You know,
Yeah.
they work in these studios and they have apprenticeships and stuff like that, and they learn from each other, and um, some just some incredible talent. You know.
Yeah. Do they have a different, like slightly different culture? Because they'll do like everything a little more than America will. Like they'll ink and paint their own art a lot of times,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they call it like albums. I heard. I don't know if that's, I don't know much about this. That's what I heard though.
yeah. And they have all different kinds of genres too, which they're willing to work in. Corporate comics in the United States are primarily superheroes. From the big two. That's it. Back in the day, they used to do funny animal humor, western, war, sci-fi. There's the whole gambit. Whatever was popular, they would try to launch comics to you know tap into that. You know, and I miss that.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that doing independent stuff is the best way to go, because I'm tired of superheroes. I think they're boring. Um, so I'm focusing on horror stuff and supernatural stuff that I like, and
Yeah.
that's a missing market.
That's cool. That, yeah, I was gonna say when you were saying that, it reminds me of your work. It could feel like a '50s like comic anthology, weird comics or something like
Right.
that. Is that part of your inspiration? Like even like '50s horror, '50s sci-fi kind of stuff? Or
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Jennifer
nice.
Grover, again, thank you for five. That's two $5 and a 10. So that's two good cigars. Thank you, Jennifer. I also want to say that bald CG guys are awesome. Haha. Bald guys are badass. My husband is bald and he is a crazy badass dude. P.S. I love you all. Hearts and kisses. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're a very cool girl.
I want to be
Christina
bald
Lynn is
now.
in here. Hi, Christina. Tiger and Bunny is a good anime that doesn't have big eyes. It's like a mix between anime and American superheroes. Oh, very cool. By the way, Christina, I'll be working on the dialogue for Alien Alamo starting tomorrow, so I'll be sending you those files pretty soon for your proofreading skills. Thank you so much.
Nice. Speaking of superheroes and kind of the subject of interactivity, is I one of the things that came up too when I was thinking about it was like, oh, there's some classic stories that have like survived thousands of years, and I'm like,
Mhm.
they kind of have some interactivity to them. Like the one I thought of that's like classic is King Arthur and Guinevere and who's her lover? I forget.
Lancelot.
Yeah, Lancelot. And it's like that, like love triangle has lots of it's like the classic suspense interactivity. And that would go on to be like in soap operas and stuff. But if you go all the way back, it's like the strong little like suspenseful element to the story that gives it a real boost. And there's
Hmm.
something to the real early superhero stories like Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. And it's all it is it's uh, the secret identity and the alter ego, because that gives a ton of interactivity to any scene. You can have a lot of fun with it. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's been mined for like 60 years now. So who can put a spin on the alter ego without it being like already done or cheesy or you know?
Right. So they'll just make them bisexual. That's that
Yeah,
that's the spin they put on it. Hey,
yeah,
Michael Bancroft is here. He's up late. Michael lives in Australia, I think. I got to say it,
yeah.
Michael. What's a Bancroft?
What's up, Michael?
Good to see you here, my friend. Um, oh, Stat Zero's here too. Now see Graham is talking my language. Ha ha ha. That's great to see all you guys in the chat here. Very cool. Um, so there's no American artist that influenced you. Would you say? How about Chuck Jones? Because you said you like anime or the
Animation.
animation
Yeah,
style.
I do. I love Chuck Jones. I went through a big Chuck Jones phase, and I still probably have a little bit of him. But the American artist that I love is Tim Sale.
Hmm. I
And
see
that
that. I see that now.
yeah, because I liked he uses like real thin lines. I kind of like that, and
Hmm.
kind of has an animation feel. The flat colors. It's funny. I've seen his colored, not flat, and then I didn't like it.
Hmm. Yeah, certain styles lend itself to flat colors. as long as you got a good colorist that uses color theory to make the drawing pop and to separate forms, uh,
Yeah.
then that stuff is fantastic. I mean, one of the I'm gonna have a I'm gonna be talking to some colorists soon about on the storytellers, because I want to get the perspective of color as a storytelling element, and because
Cool.
there's so much that's being done with color today, and some of it is so freaking amazing, and some of it is just turgid. It's just so dark, and when I go to the bookstore and I go to the graphic novel section, I always go in there with the greatest of hopes because I love this art form, and I'm always so damn disappointed when I see that they're just lined up with Marvel and DC shit, and you open it up and it's the same stuff. It's the same look. You can't even tell who. There's no stylists really. I mean, there's a couple here and there that crop up, that are really good, but by and large, you open that stuff and it's overcolored, over rendered, and nothing's happening. You know.
Yeah. They have a lot that look like traced 3D models. That's kind of a trend right now.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't look that good. Yeah. It's kind of dated, a lot of the modern stuff. It's dated in more than one way because it's really dated with the like switching genders and everything too.
Yeah. Well, and it's a perfect example of what I talked about, pushing the drawing. You know, it's boring. The drawings, everybody's drawing, nobody looks exaggerated. Their feet, these are superheroes. Yeah, they should have shoulders, like, out to here, and exaggerated musculature, and
Yeah.
exaggerated actions. But they're just sitting there. They're sitting in Pizza Hut, talking, and nothing's happening. They're not even working hard,
Yeah.
make
You
it
know,
look cool.
that reminds me of like, yeah, because that's so true that it's not um the just the shapes, they're all just humanoid boring shapes, and you could get so more just like some Chuck Jones influence would like solve that or whatever. But like the Muppets, like they have a really cool level of suspension of disbelief that's really fun for the audience because they're so obviously not human and not real, but it's really fun for the audience to like everyone plays it straight, and that's like that immersion thing you're talking about, like you get sucked in almost more than if it was like a CGI Muppet trying to look real. You get more like sucked into the story if it's a real Muppet, and that applies to drawings, I think, too.
Right. Jennifer is back at it. Another $5 super chat. Thank you, Jennifer. Michael Bancroft. I love Michael Bancroft. Not inappropriately, but I do love him. Excellent. You know what makes B movies work is, there's a lot of these old B science fiction movies that we were just talking about, that have just ridiculous premises, but they work because they're sincere. There's no self-awareness
Yeah.
in the characters, which goes a long way in you believing that there's a walking tree that's going to go out there and kill you because they believe it. And if they believe it, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and buy it too. And that's what makes those movies so fun and so interesting. So much of the stuff, just like the latest Star Wars trilogy, everybody's so self-aware. They're so self-aware about the Star Wars universe too. It just
Yeah.
the scenes are just cringeworthy in how they're so. This is a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago, and yet they're doing like these modern day pop culture referencing. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah. You're right. That's the example. Talking to a normie friend the other day, and that is like the pinnacle at hitting mainstream of these like dated weird SJW techniques of storytelling that they're like, yeah, they're kind of postmodern. They're not what we were saying. They're self-aware in the wrong way. They're not earnest and sincere. That was your word. Yeah. They're not
Right.
sincere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lack of sincerity and an innate self-awareness. Jennifer Grover, another $5 super chat. Graham Nolan, you have the game night sometimes, yes? I freaking love it. It is so hilarious and good. You seem like a bleeping sweetheart. I am a sweetheart.
Yeah.
However, I don't do the game night. The game nights. Well, actually, no, I did do the game night. It was the match game. It's Aaron that does the trivia night. Uh, and tomorrow night on the Bros is Aaron's turn, and I do believe we're doing trivia night. So tune in for that, gang.
Torvaldsen has a good comment. I'll
Who
just
does?
read it. He says,
Yeah.
Torvald, he says, hard to suspend disbelief and get immersed into a story when they overtly inject their personal real world politics into them. It does the opposite of immersion. It's an active repellent. Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing that kind of came up too
Good point.
with the interactivity essay is this is actually like after it was written, I got a bunch of feedback and I was thinking of if I ever wrote another essay, what I might. And one of them is like, just the idea of rapport, like the way that it's actually the way that like sales advice and some like psychology advice and dating advice can play, and storytelling, they have like a big overlap. And one of them is building rapport. And like, it's, if characters are going to build rapport with the audience, they're not going to do it by second guessing themselves and being like, well, it's like the way that you do it is through sincerity, and earnestness is like how you build rapport.
John Agar, God bless him, always gave his best. Yeah, him and Richard Carlson, those two guys in those 50s movies, they were all in. You bought it from them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing we're kind of missing is the manly men. I did a little YouTube video years ago, but I took a picture of Sean Connery in Dr. No when he was his first role as James Bond. And I didn't know this, but he's 39 years old when he got that role. So he looks to a modern, if you like put him in the modern world, you'd be like, he looks like 60 or something. He's like so manly. And then if you look at a modern 39-year-old, they look like a 24-year-old or whatever. They look like a boy. And the example specifically is Chris Evans as Captain America is like, whatever, he can be strong and he's like a good actor, but he looks like a boy.
Well, yeah, his face is a little soft. He doesn't have that hard edge. Like Connery had lines on his face, and he was very angular.
Yeah. And I heard part of it's maybe just smoking, but another thing is I guess there's studies, I don't know exactly, but it's like, it's where the modern younger generations are suffering from less and less testosterone. Like that's real.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Eric Medved, thank you for the $5 super chat. Check out the Purposely B movies of Christopher Mim. They are fantastic and work on such a 50s level. Okay. Purposely, yeah. Purposely B movies. So Christopher Mim is making these B style movies. Excellent. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm taking a little note. Check it out. What for when we're doing comics
as well, evidently.
Yeah, when we're doing comics, like at least 1 month a year, but sometimes 2-3 months a year, I'm just packing and shipping books. So I've been throwing movies on in the background, and there's almost not enough movies, so I'll watch anything. But then there's times where there's a good, it's happened twice, but I'll just tell one is kind of a cool example of, I throw this movie, it's free on YouTube, and it's a Western. It's called One-Eyed Jacks, and it stars the real famous guy who
Jack
plays
Nicholson.
the God. No. I know that's going south. Brando. I think. Yeah, it's Brando. Yeah, so it stars Brando, and he directed it, and so I throw that on in the background, and I was packing books, and then I was like, it was playing, and I was like slowly packing, slower and slower, and it's like a 2.5-hour movie, but by an hour in, I was like, I can't pack, and I just quit packing because I was like, I have to watch this because this movie's really good. And that's one that has like intense interactivity too. Like it really builds up to some good, like all the relationships of everyone in a room, and they're all kind of trying to figure each other out. And it's just really good stuff. It's cool how just Westerns can get that, where it's these simple Westerns are like some of the best stories out there,
Have you ever seen any of the Bud Bedecker Westerns from the 50s?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he made these. I think he made 8 films with Randolph Scott, and they are the various degrees of greatness, but they're all really good. But my favorite is one called Ride Lonesome, and it is just an incredible tour de force of storytelling and changing gears on what the audience thinks is happening. Great
Cool.
movie.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I'll definitely be checking that out. And that reminds me too. This kind of comes up again with some of the interactivity stuff, but again, I like just writing it helped me a lot. I learned from trying to write it, but one thing that came up is these stories, like the stories when you got a lot going on with the interactivity, a lot of times the story is like almost less than words. Like in that example of that scene from The Long Riders, where like you got the Pinkertons and the brothers, they don't know that they're Pinkertons, they don't know they're brothers. If they do find out, there's going to be a huge shootout and they might die. So like that's the story. Like you say it in a sentence and it's just who knows what. It's like not even like a plot, you know, and that can get like real. That's like a very strong connection with the audience because it's like less than words almost, you know.
Right, and the audience is now in an anticipatory mode. They're anticipating the violence to happen.
Yeah, totally. That's a huge
Does it
one.
happen
That's
in
like
that scene? I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it, but do they finally have that aha moment where they realize who they're talking to and shoot it out? Or
yeah, it does. It explodes in violence and it's kind of emotional, like because the kid, he's actually innocent. And that kind of adds to the interactivity too, because you know that he's one of the bad family, but he doesn't participate in the gang. But they
Mhm.
shoot him, and then the older brother, he's the uh, one of the brothers, the actor brothers.
They're all actor brothers. There's the Keaches and the Carradines, and there's
Yeah, it's
one
Keith
more.
Carradine. Keith Carradine, who he's awesome, by the way. I've kind of only recently discovered him. I love him. But then he tracks down and kills the last of the Pinkertons who kind of got away in the forest, and that's kind of the end of the scene. So he's the
Oh,
last
okay.
man standing.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm a bleeping sweetheart.
Nice.
There's a lot of
She's
people that
throwing
have
you.
other words for me, but I'll take yours.
What's up,
Oh, this
Zaid
is
in the
interesting.
chat?
Devil Flyer says Brando was in Chaplin's last film. Yeah,
Oh,
what movie that was? That was that?
yeah, we need that from Charlie's can tell us. She's an
Yeah,
expert.
yeah, exactly. Oh, Lord Nemesis is ragging on you. You're not man enough for westerns, Narwhal.
I will be one day. I'm practicing now.
He's practicing. He's getting his high tea up.
Yeah.
Do you have any projects up right now, crowdfunding, or are you?
Yeah, Earthbound 2 is in demand, and I'm like in the process of it's almost completely done and ready for print. That might be like next week. I'll send it to Mixum and order prints, and then I'll be fulfilling in the month of December. So that'll be cool, and that'll be cool because that's the one I started to kind of enter Comicsgate, and it's the personal project that I started when I turned 30. And because I turned 30, I'd been working on a fair amount of comics, but just here and there and scripts here and there, and no big projects. But I had one big script and I was like, I'm 30. I need to work on like a big project, like, cause I'll be old before I know it. So I need to start now. And I was like, I'll start on this script because it's the only one I have that's any good. I had a bunch that were kind of the process of learning. And, and that was Earthbound. And then, so yeah, I cut to like 5 years
Is
later.
that on Indiegogo?
Yeah, it's Earthbound Part 2 on Indiegogo. If people search, it's in demand right now. So, and it'll be fulfilling pretty soon. So if you haven't backed it, people can check that out. But Part 1 and Part 2 combined, it's like 260 pages, and it's like the script originally was formatted as a movie, and it was 135 pages. So it's like a long story, and it's kind of fun that it'll be done, like, and I'll get it out there, and there could potentially be a sequel one day, but I'm just glad to like have that big check mark in the career of getting out this big book.
The link to Earthbound is in the chat, guys.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, and then next year I'm launching one pretty quickly, and it's the Nosferatu silent film adaptation. It's just a side project I've been working on, kind of for fun, again for like years now, but it's done. And I didn't know this, but next year is the 100th anniversary of the film of Nosferatu.
Oh,
So
wow.
so that timed out kind of good, and so I'm going to be releasing that next year.
So Earthbound 2, we're up at 74K.
Yeah, nice. Look at that.
Yeah, very nice. So you guys, if you haven't backed this, check this out. Let's play the trailer here.
Is this guy special? Is he a genius? Is he a savant? Is he like, what's up? Like, this book, nobody else makes stuff like this. I've never read a comic like this ever. I read it and I got done and I was like, oh man, that went by quick. It's really immersive. It really pulls you in.
There it is, immersive.
Yeah, nice.
I forget how many pages it is. I think it's like 136. I read this in one sitting. This book should be so critically acclaimed. It's really that good.
20 years ago, this would have come out from one of the big publishers, and it would have been celebrated everywhere as this groundbreaking achievement in comic book storytelling.
There you go. Push drawings, dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big action scene in part 2 that I'm excited to just get the book out so people can see it.
Is that Zach?
Yeah.
Ah.
So he's kind of part of that story because he really liked Earthbound, and then he and I started emailing, and then the collaboration with 499 came through that, the Narzak collaboration. But he gave Earthbound a good review just kind of out of the blue, and it sold out that night. That was what was crazy. So his good review made the book sell out. So then that's when the next morning I think I either quit the Fred Meyer Deli or I went part-time. I had 2 big moments where I was like, I think I quit. And the first one, Ethan helped me a lot because he took me on the show. I drew a Cyberfrog fan art, and this is way early CG. His channel had just exploded a little bit recently because of some Star Wars stuff. And then he was having big live streams, and he had me on in the backstage, and he's like, your life's going to be different from now on, bud. And I was like, oh. And then again, that one, it got a huge boost overnight, and it's so mind-blowing to go when you aren't used to that. I couldn't believe it. It might have been the first one might have been it might have been 2001 night or something like that. So, and
wow.
But it's just oh geez, can't believe it. Oh yeah, I know. I got to click on the link when you're on
the show more.
I miss it sometimes, and I want to. I usually get on there at least once a month, just kind of saying hi and stuff.
Yeah, this weekend is the art auction.
Oh, nice.
Sunday is going to be the art auction.
Cool.
I don't typically go on those because I don't sell my art. I stopped years ago, but was thinking about maybe putting a couple pieces up this weekend, see what happens.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how much people enjoy it and support the artists and everything. Have you seen any of the NFT stuff? I'm just a little curious about that. That's pretty crazy, some of that money being thrown around.
Oh yeah, it really is. I'm still reading up on it, and I'm exploring it. I've got some ideas, but it's a complex concept to wrap my head around. These ethereal things that have value that you can't tangibly hold or touch.
Yeah, part of it is you have to just let go, I think. The past.
Spirit Scar says, where is it? Don't put up original pages, Graham. Just random sketches you happen to draw. No original pages. Why is that? Why no original pages? The money's just not there for those.
Yeah, maybe. I think I've seen it. The situation they've talked about it like this too, where a random fun sketch you'll get way more money than you think, and then maybe a page you might get a little less money than you think.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good to know. Spirit Scar. Thank you for that. So, tell us about Earthbound. Tell us about what it's about.
Yeah, it's about it's a sci-fi kind of action. It's a pretty simple story with kind of complex world building. So the surrounding universe is kind of detailed, but then the story is just these two bounty hunters sent to Earth to recruit 4 targets for like a tournament. So they kind of enslave them if they are successful to become almost like gladiators. So there's 4 warriors that they're going after. They're in competition with each other. So you know, they have this thing, they have a tiebreaker. Like if they each get 2, then the 5th is this guy named WizKid, who's their ex-partner, who was a 3rd bounty hunter at one point, and he's hiding out on Earth. So they just kind of they come to Earth, and then the story is just tracking their strategies as they try to get close to and trick and enslave these 4 deadly warriors that they're going after. And part 1 is like the first half, and they're the same story. It's from the same script. So like part 1 ends like cliffhanger kind of abruptly, but it because of the structure of the story, it's kind of a nice just halfway point that it just ends.
Look at this, guys. This is beautiful. This is beautiful stuff. Do you work digitally?
Yeah, I just do Clip Studio these days. Yeah.
Clip Studio. Okay. Okay. And are you doing that on a iPad or
I
a
have
Cincy?
so I have a I wonder if I move, if it's even in the background, you can kind of see it, my Wacom tablet. But the thing is, I actually just got a way smaller tablet that's not as impressive technically, but it's mobile. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
using that more just because it's kind of fun to just have a little mobile thing. There's the top of my Wacom. You can just kind of see it. There's
Oh,
like
okay.
two monitors there. There's the computer and then the Wacom. But right now
Okay.
I'm on my laptop. This is like mobile. And I think I can hold up my drawing pad maybe if it's kind of plugged in, but it's like this, you know, it's just like
Okay.
a little.
Cool.
I'm trying to learn Blender, which is a 3D program, and for this scene, the backgrounds are done in Blender because there's so many characters. It kind of covers the 3D, and actually, Foreign Agent was done that way too. Like the backgrounds are actually 3D, and it's for me, it achieves a little bit of that montage feel that I like with animation, where the background's a different style than the characters, so they feel like they're moving on top of it. But there
Mm-hmm.
is like an art too. You have to match the perspectives. So if you get that and get the coloring like more or less right, then it'll kind of feel good.
I like how you drop back the opacity too on the background stuff. That's cool. Eric Medved, thank you for the $10 super chat. That's a good cigar. I bought Disintegration Street on Narwhal's advice. Really weird, but interesting and keeps you reading. Gray, I'm really interested in how all your books will tie together. I think it means, does this include Monster Island?
Oh, is it? Do you
Yeah.
have a Graham universe going on?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. The first installment was the Chenoo. This now is Alien Alamo. And the next one is the Ghosts of Matacumba Key. And they all are interconnected. You'll see characters showing up, or you'll see references. Even Joe Frankenstein is connected to this because I referenced him in the Chenoo. And there's a
Nice.
reference to Monster Island on the very last page of Alien Alamo, which I did today, which I finished today.
Awesome.
So there you go, Eric.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah,
you again.
I backed your trilogy. I think you had something where you can get all your books, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, the Chenoo, Alien Alamo, and original Monster Island
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the 1998 version. Yeah, very cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, nice. I'm excited. Did you worked with Chuck Dixon, didn't you? Like back in the day and kind of recently.
Chuck Dixon. The name is familiar. Yeah. Chuck and I have worked together for 34 years, something like that.
Cool. Are you and him like kind of close friends or just working buddies?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you pick up anything from him? I'm just curious about his storytelling. I read he has some published blog posts that have cool advice, and it's similar to yours. It's like clarity, dynamics, that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, working with Chuck is like a master's class on writing comics. He's the most prolific comics writer in history, and that's in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Cool.
And he knows his craft. He's amazing how he can, everybody writes themselves into a corner every once in a while, but not Chuck. He knows how to avoid the corners. So
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from him over the years, just talking to him about storytelling and his process of writing too. You know,
Yeah.
we approach stories differently, but still, there's a lot of stuff that I took away from him.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like how focused you are on the art and the visuals because it's so important, and it can get like kind of subtle too and fun, like the tools that you have at your disposal. Like you mentioned, even like coloring has storytelling to it, and that's cool.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. Um, uh, Back in the old days when it was on newsprint, the really good colorists, people like Marie Severin and uh, Tatiana Wood, used to use color to accentuate moods. They used to call them knockouts, where it would be like a solid color, a monochromatic color on a foreground character, and maybe more full color on background characters. To let's say they used yellow because this character was showing fear or something like that, and it enhanced the emotion. And then the other thing that they used to do, because this was printed on newsprint, and the style of inking was somewhat different then, they use color to separate forms and separate planes. So it made it very clear what your middle ground, foreground, and background were. And that added to the clarity of the reading experience. And that's the issue I have with a lot of stuff when I say I walk into the bookstore and I'm depressed, is because I open it up and I see, you've got all these tools. Colors have all these tools at their disposal, and they feel like they got to use every one. So every figure is modeled, whether it's a middle ground, foreground, or background figure. There's no idea of like maybe throwing a monochromatic color on those background figures just so that they stand back from the main figure that you want to be looking at.
yeah,
But there are people, of course, of amazing colorists out there. Elizabeth Breitweiser is incredible. Greg
yeah.
Wright, who I use all the time, is just amazing. But I'm talking in a broader sense.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's shoot, I got distracted by the chat, sorry. But I agree. And oh yeah, their colors, like you're saying, the good ones, they do you go simple a lot of times, or they know how to use not overuse tools.
Mm-hmm.
And you could track like how technology will always make art lame for a while. Like right at like CGI in movies is kind of almost still like that, where it's overused and it looks crappy a lot of times. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a funny thing with that is I remember like the first movie where they used a fair amount of CGI was right in that era of like 93, early 90s, but like Jurassic Park. And they
Mm-hmm.
were so worried about using it that they built a giant T-Rex model to get the lighting reference. So they have perfect lighting reference. And so it actually looks really good. It looks better than modern CGI, I think, still the T-Rex in the rain. I think they put it in the rain too, because that like the lighting is so specific, and then they have the reference to get it. So there's all these things they could do to make sure it would work. And then nowadays they're just like, we don't need a lighting reference, we don't need a life-size model, just do it. And like it can look however it wants, it can move however it wants. A lot of times they'll get the physics wrong. They'll like huge things will be moving really fast, and you're like, that looks fake, man, what's going on with that?
Right. Yeah, I miss the days of practical effects. But again, it's like anything. It's a tool, and you use the tool to tell the story um, in the best way possible. You don't have to overuse the tool. You only need CGI for one little scene, but they got to use it for everything. you know,
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
because they're paying for it or something. You think they were renting the computers by the hour or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and the coloring reminds me of that. It's like almost too much at our disposal, and limiting it can almost make it better in some ways.
No, no doubt about it. Or developing, better skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So let me finish scrolling through these pages because these are great. Look at this. I love this gesture here. This of her holding that rifle with the
Yeah,
that
thanks.
silencer. What is that? Or is it just a sniper rifle? Or
Yeah, it's just that's alien weaponry, so I don't have
oh,
to
okay,
explain it, I don't think. She's got a
okay.
scope though on there.
An alien scope. Okay, cool. Look at this guy here.
Yeah,
He looks
that's
like this
something.
little cartoon dude with no nose.
Yeah, he's literally a Muppet, and I just drew him as a Muppet. A lot of the comic's funny because it was when I was 30, and I was like, I'm gonna do a comic, gonna do a big book, and I had a lot of things stopping me in the past, or where a lot of them are like, man, there's like a million questions I need to solve before I can get started. For one, like, am I gonna spend a month character designing each character? I'm like, I can't do that. I need to just jump in. And so I
Mhm.
kind of had this like F it mentality, like we're doing this. So like I do a drawing, I'm like, that's the guy. And I do another drawing and I'm like, all right, he's in. And so I was like, we got Muppets
Hired.
in this book. I don't know why, but we're in, it's a Muppet story.
I love this guy. Look at how simple this face is. With the eyes and the eyebrow. It
Yeah.
looks so simple and yet it's all there.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And at least on that page, I'm still trying to get better at
Here's another
everything
one.
being on model. Yeah. She's a throwaway character who only appears in one panel. So I was like, I'll just draw Jabba the Hutt teacher.
That's
We've all
funny.
known
Great
her.
color on it though.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
you color
That was
this
when I
right
just
in.
got Clip Studio, so I was kind of messing around with some of the.
Yeah. Yeah, and cool highlight to show that plane, the break of the plane.
Yeah,
Yeah, your perspective is really good too. I mean,
yeah. Thanks. That's something I focus on and try and get good, and that's the thing that is still for me kind of hard, and it takes the longest. Like these simple pages, that's like I do draw them pretty fast, but they still take kind of a long time because I'm like trying to figure out the perspective for like half hour to an hour sometimes, and I'll sometimes redraw whole poses to get the energy or whatever.
now when is this leaving in demand?
So I'm going to fulfill and then see if there's like from when you're fulfilling, there's like usually another rush of a little boost of sales and stuff, and then after that
Mhm.
it'll leave. So like sometime in January it'll leave in demand. And yeah,
Oh,
there's a shot, who knows, but a shot it could hit six figures. So I know I'm like in striking distance, so I'm excited about just even being close to that maybe.
oh yeah. Well, you could definitely hit that. Like you said, as you get the word out, more and more people seeing it, and when they start to fulfill, they start doing unboxing videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like that
It
kind of
gets
stuff.
the
And that's when you can back it and you'll get the book like within a week too, rather than within a year or whatever, six
right,
months.
right. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't close on Thursday.
Yeah.
I just feel like you got to set a deadline and because people will sit and they'll drag their feet on it and
Oh yeah. Well, if you
you know
close, you can reoffer it, is the other option
yeah,
later.
they have plenty of opportunity to get in on it and get all the goodies now. Because then the price does go up. Once the campaign goes down and it's printed, when it goes up on my website, the book is $30, and you don't get any of the other stuff with it. Um, so that's just how it goes. That's why the backers get all the goodies. They're the ones that make it happen. So the backers deserve the best breaks and they deserve the best quality too.
Yeah.
Hey, Gabe's here. Hey,
What's
Gabe.
up, Gabe? We were talking colorist a
Yeah,
little bit earlier.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna message you too, Gabe. By the way,
Gabe
for
knows.
next week. Spirit Scar says, Narwhal, you ever go into a bar and show some random cute chick how much money your current book has raised? Don't point it out. Just show them the book and let them see the money total on their own.
No, I'll try that though.
He's not above doing that.
Yeah.
And Gabe says, hail chat, hail Graham, hail Narwhal. Nice. Yeah, the first Jurassic Park movie did use giant animatronic T-Rex in the combination with the CG.
Oh yeah, that I know some about that is too. There's something, I don't know if it's like psychological or what, but they have to cut back like almost every other shot. If you cut from a CGI to a CGI, then our human eyes can tell. But if you go CGI real, we can't catch up. We can't
Interesting.
figure it out. And they knew all that. It's funny, like yeah, when they're so nervous to get it going, then they learn, hey, it's just me. Did Graham drop out? Graham, what happened? He accidentally closed.
Yeah, everybody knows that I've got this damn wireless mouse with that touch thing, and every once in a while I'll accidentally rub my fingers across it, and what it does is switch you to the next page, so it knocks me completely out. So as you all know, it's drink. Yep, there we go. Stat Zero called it. Drink.
Nice.
When I have a boomer moment, everybody's allowed to drink. So get those bourbons open, gang, and enjoy. This one's on me.
Nice.
I gotta keep my hand hovering above it and just not touch it, But maybe I should get just a damn plug-in mouse for this computer so I don't keep doing that.
Oh yeah, the Wi-Fi. They used to run out of batteries for me, and that's always annoying. And you got to buy the weird batteries that never have around. So I always just use a plug when I can.
Well, the new ones are USB. You just plug them in, and that charges it.
Oh, cool.
You don't have to replace batteries.
That's good.
Dale A says, stretch goal to get Graham a new mouse.
Nice.
Oh, man. Get me a new brain. The boys in the lab want to know what you've got planned for next year.
Just Nosferatu is like the first thing. And like, then I'm working on other stuff, but it's too far off to really know what'll come up.
Okay. And your Nosferatu is a strict adaptation of the film?
Yeah, it was one I wanted to like draw something without having to write anything. So I was like, maybe I can just copy a silent film that's in the public domain. And so that's kind of what I did. I just changed like a couple little things here and there.
Nice.
And yeah, and that one turned out good. I was curious if it would even work because it's totally changing from a movie to a comic, and like that story itself has kind of weird structure. But it's kind of cool for it. It's just a 66 page comic that it turned out pretty cool.
Is it done?
Yeah, it's done. So it's like ready to, I'm doing some like polishing, and I've commissioned a few like pinups because I want to have a pinup gallery in it. And Clint Stoker of CG, he is like a direct descendant of Bram Stoker. That's his last name, And so he wrote me a forward. So it's gonna have a forward from Clint Stoker.
Nice. Now you know the story of Nosferatu with Bram Stoker's wife, right?
Yeah, that's like amazing too, and could be its own comic. But
yeah, that's a whole nother story. For those people that don't know, it was the German-made film was a direct ripoff of Bram Stoker's book, and they just changed the name, and they won the lawsuit, and all the copies of the film were required to be destroyed. And then they were never to be found up until I think the 1960s. They found them somewhere in some film archive in Europe. They found a copy, and they were able to dupe it. And
like
now,
one copy made it out or something.
Yeah, and they've restored it now to like high definition and stuff. And it's I understand the legality. I understand how his widow would feel being ripped off like that. But by the same token, this was a hell of a piece of artwork. And if it was lost forever, that would be just a shame to the arts. So now that she's gone, I'm glad that
Yeah.
one of those movies survives so that we can enjoy Max Schreck as Nosferatu.
Yeah, it's like a little different perspective looking back now, like 100 years. Because I remember too that movie, I was like, this movie is like not boring. It's like I really like it, but I mean, maybe I don't like it as much as some of my favorite movies, but it's like really good. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Again, it's one of those things you got to kind of rewire your brain if you don't watch a lot of silent films to watch it and understand the storytelling and how they go over to a title card with the dialogue and all that kind of stuff. It takes a little getting used to, but the imagery, the German expressionism is amazing.
yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to talk about with Earthbound 2 before we wrap it up tonight?
No, yeah. Thanks for having me on. Just shout out to Earthbound 2. The interactivity essay is available on Gumroad if anyone wants to check that out. I have on through Twitter, I'm just Narwhal on Twitter, but I have a mailing list that's kind of connected to the interactivity essay where I'll usually do a smaller essay, one per week of a lot of it's like stuff that you and I talked about tonight just might come up in one of those little essays. So anyone who's interested, sign up for that and keep an eye out for Nosferatu. There is the sign up mailing list for that is available as well. And it's on my Twitter too.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. And what is your Twitter address? Do you want to put that out?
Yeah, well, I think just if you just search Narwhal Comic Skate, it'll come up because it's kind of weird. It's an old account that I didn't use for years, and then I started using it again. So it's called Plaster Harris, which I don't know why it's called that.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's like a fake name. Like I thought it was funny. I was like, haha, well, if I had a fake name, it'd be like Plaster Harris.
But you do have a fake name. It's Narwhal.
I know Narwhal's a better fake name. I've been
Yeah.
going by Narwhal more and more. My real name, it's not a secret. My real name is Per Berg, and it's kind of just like I don't know.
What is it?
Per Berg.
Pear?
Yeah, like a Swedish name, my first name, and then my last name is Berg.
Is it spelled like the fruit? Pear?
It's spelled Per.
Oh, Per Berg. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Sometimes Ethan will call me Per Berg. He goes, "We got Per Berg in the chat."
If I hear that, now I'll know the reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing with us your thoughts on storytelling. And I'm a big fan of your work. I think it looks amazing, and I hope all you guys will support Narwhal's projects because this is really good stuff, and it's unlike any other stuff you're going to see out there. So
Yeah,
please check
thanks,
it out.
Graham.
Yeah,
and I'm glad to be here and good to talk to you too. And I'm looking forward to continuing hanging out on the interwebs and whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tomorrow night, gang, the bros will be on Aaron's channel. I think he has a nice little trivia game set up for us. So that's always a lot of fun. And then Monday night will be we'll go back to the Comics Gate Kings. Oh, actually, I'm jumping ahead. Monday mornings is the continuation of 31 Days of Monsters. By popular demand, we're now doing Monster Monday. So every Monday, we're going to be talking about thriller, horror, monsters, sci-fi, movies, comics, TV shows, etc. So last Monday, we did The Conjuring. This Monday, we're going to be talking about The Exorcist. So
Cool.
if you want to chime in on that, that's your homework for the week. Go watch The Exorcist and then come in on Monster Monday. Comic Book Kings Monday night. And then next Wednesday will be another Storytellers. And please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button and the reminders so you'll find out what the show is going to be next week.
Nice.
So,
I'm going to hang out in the chat for that Exorcist discussion. That sounds cool.
There you go. Excellent. So thanks everybody in the chat for coming in and watching the show. I love all you guys, and I can't wait to see you again. So have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.